Hey guys, I'm very sorry, it's me again. Okay, I'll be brief because you came to see a winner and that's not me. Oh. No, seriously, I was just talking to Jackie about this, and it's really a great honor to be able to introduce the winner of the Novel in Progress Prize. When you judge a contest like this, it's very mysterious. It's like one of those really old game shows, like To Tell the Truth, where you're not sure who the person is. Everything is so anonymous, and so it's really nice to be able to put the face with the name and to be a part of this sort of celebration of a writer. Look, we're in hard times for a lot of reasons. I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. There are a lot of things going wrong in our world right now, especially in our country, even here in the Cuban embassy, right? But art is still doing what art does. When I read this excerpt, I was so thrilled. Now, to be clear, all of the contestants that I got to read were fantastic and did a great job. When I got the excerpt, I feel like, I appreciate the idea of like not putting words into Baldur's mouth. I feel like Nabokov said this, but maybe it's just me saying this. Everything is a symbol, everything is a sign, and everything that is a symbol or a sign has a meaning. And so when I was reading the pieces, they were all numbered, and this one was numbered with number 54. And if you have gray hair, you recall an old TV show called Car 54, right? Like a very wacky sitcom from back in the old days with Fred Gwynn and the other fella in it. And I'm not sure what that means, but I think that it's calling to us to pay more attention, which is the overall idea here, to look for an order that's not about brutality. And in reading this piece, this excerpt, I was struck by, well, you know what, let me just read what I said to myself about this piece in the work. Winner, number 54 in Noon's name, deftly portrays the dual losses of the protagonist's mother and the protagonist's connection to her ancestral land. This text provides a masterclass in navigating voice with all the nuance, grief, and knee-slapping humor a talented author could hope to bring to the table. Energetic and pleasurable. Jackie Chalghin was the 2024-2025 Hoffman Hall's Emerging Artist Fellow at University of Wisconsin-Madison, where she received an MFA degree in creative writing, fiction. Her work was longlisted for the 2024 Disquiet Prize, and she is currently working on a collection of stories and a novel. Now, I want to make this clear for you. Before I get off the stage and out of your hair, how many of you out there are writers? Just raise your hand, right? Okay. How many of you are aspiring writers? I see a few of those hands too. There are very few times in life where you're at that place between being a talented but underappreciated writer and somebody who has a name. And so to be here right now and to bring up this amazing writer who is going to do amazing things in the future is a great pleasure. So I want to hear a huge hand for Jackie Chalghin. Come on up.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you. This week has been really surreal. I also want to thank Katrine Schumann, Arlo Haskell, and everyone else who makes this event possible. Maurice, Carlos, Ruffin, again, for the introduction and the faith in the work. So this is the current novel opening. Personally and impartially, the words Mercy Hospital CT lit up my caller ID, carrying news that my mother, who in my childhood beat me as she loved me, fiercely, constantly, was finally dead. The doctor didn't say finally, but regretfully. Well, that's okay, I said. There then came my mother repeating back, that's okay, louder each time, until she was slamming tables and rattling doors and all the neighbor kids could hear and tease me about it tomorrow. Your mother dies and all you can manage is, that's okay. This is why a person should always have 2 daughters, so there is a chance at least one will have a heart. No one else was in the vehicle when she crashed her car on I-95. I told the doctor I would be there within the coming days and presumed he thought the worst of me. Law dictated removal by an embalmer within 24 hours. After an awkward interval, I explained that I lived in Wisconsin. Cold up there, he said, even though we were well into May, and I nodded into the phone. I hung up because it would have been the wrong time to say I moved 3 years ago for a master's degree in sculpting, which I was granted last week. that it's why I hadn't visited home in those years, darling excuse, and that I am sure this absence tortured my mother until her final breath. She told anyone who would listen about her torture. I'm sorry she's not there because she would have loved to tell you about it, is what I would have said to the doctor had it been the right time. He called back to tell me where she would be when I arrived. My feelings about New York made me feel corny. I felt a familiar awe seeing the skyline from above, a familiar thrill exiting Grand Central onto 42nd Street, the full-body thrum that accompanied being in a place where everyone was rushing towards something. I had no reason to exit onto 42nd. I zipped between people and kiosks and pets and hydrants, suitcase rattling behind me, making my wrist veins reverberate like guitar strings. Also, I could sit in Bryant Park like I did once when I ran away in high school, just to stare up at the apartment buildings that shined gold like upright fingers of God and imagine another kind of life. It's all drama with you, my mother said when I told her what I walked 2 miles, paid $30, rode 90 minutes just to do. You're not in Hollywood, she said. Had the doctor mentioned a morgue, a Hollywood word if there ever was one? It hovered in front of the unchanged buildings. Morgue, 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 I repeated until it sounded funny. The grass underhand was prickly, the world prickled and blurred. In my dream, I pranced through the city air using building tops as stepping stones, searching for the sea so I could abandon the earth, perhaps convene with whales. But before I could find it, the building started to crumble beneath me. I tried jumping faster, but they were falling fast as sand, and then I was falling, and sand was falling atop. I opened my eyes to a black boot kicking at my leg, telling me to get a fucking move on. So I did. No time to argue while morgue hung above us. I considered getting my mother a falafel wrap, but it wouldn't have kept well on the train. On the New Haven line, I passed all the towns where she was once alive. Now my mother was allegedly dead in Greenwich and dead in Stamford and dead in Rowayton, chimes acknowledging her death at each stop. Dead in Norwalk and dead in Westport, passengers exiting in acknowledgement of her death at each stop. Dead in Southport and Fairfield and Black Rock until, at last, after watching the world shrink and shrink, I was back in Bridgeport, a scarred fist of a city where, surely, the apartment smelled the same. There was a glass on the side table holding dregs of black tea, some leaves, lemon peels shaved onto the exposed garbage bin in the kitchen, string lights from my undergraduate dorm still on in the dining room. Whenever I locked the bathroom door, my mother used to say, "Well, what if I needed to ask you something?" Or, "What if you died in there and no one could get in?" So with the door unlocked, I sat on the shower floor while hot water pelted my skin. Cupping my palms, I collected small pools. Stretching my fingers, I let them fall. I turned off the water when I finally bored of this cycle of having, then losing. Inheritance soon took the place of morgue. The word blanketed the bathroom and made me think of Dorothy. Dorothy was the dying woman whose house my mother cleaned. Her drawn-out death began when I was a child and concluded when I was in college. My mother tried to convince me to attend the funeral. She wanted to be able to cling to me, know the right things to say to the right people. I reassured her she would be fine, nothing to do but sit quietly and mimic the masses. My mother came home that day doughy as a baby. She missed the side table, keys tumbling to the ground, and curled up on the couch. I brushed hair from her face. "What, Mama? She didn't mention me once." "Who?" "Oh God, Dorothy. She didn't mention me once. She wrote a piece thanking everyone in her life, thanked her morning cup of coffee, not me once. She thanked William and Penelope and Riley and Margot, her husband who flirted with the nurse, her daughters who never lifted a finger, and I washed her sheets every week and carried her into her chair when I needed to strip the bed, returned her when the sheets were fresh, shined her window so her view was clear. She said she was thankful for fresh sheets and thankful for her view of trees. She thanked her hairdresser by name, that woman who only came once every 2 months, and I went every week for 15 years. She called me her 4th daughter. She left me nothing, not even my name." The next morning, I peeled myself off the tile and phoned the man hosting my mother. Chester was cheery. "I'm Chester, Faith Front Funeral Home manager since '02. How can I help you?" My throat clenched. "Hello," he said. "I'm Noon," I said. "The hospital told me to call." "Okay," he said. "I'm going to need a little more information. Nothing too crazy. Bear with me here. Computers, you know? All right. Shall we start this process here, or would you prefer in person?" Chester's affability led me to wonder if he was the type of mortician who took small bites out of dead bodies. His afternoon was wide open, he said. The funeral home stood between 2 houses on a residential block. It was white and boxy. In an adjacent driveway, the wind complicated the lives of 2 jump-roping children. When I rang the doorbell, Faith Front creaked. I imagined it tilting over like a playing card and checked on the children. Chester opened the screen door, held it there with the length of his arm. The second hand on his watch moved too fast. "That fire escape is an awful thing," he said. "Hope it didn't scare you." He introduced himself to me again as we stepped into the sterile foyer. Plastic plants, plastic watering can, white walls, white carpeting, air still as a casket. I asked about the watering can. Kids always ask to water the plants. Through a small window, I could still see the two girls, now busy tying a noose. In Chester's office, the blinds were drawn. None of the walls were padded. I couldn't shake the sense that I was bound to wake up at any moment. He cleared his throat frequently as he sorted files, seemed bashful as he laid out 2 brochures for the cemetery's nearest faith front. I shook my head. The one thing I knew was where my mother would be buried. People buy those plots years in advance, sometimes decades, he said. Sure. They're much pricier than these options. Okay. There was a pause before Chester went back into a drawer. I'll give you some space to weigh this all, he said, standing. That'll be all right, I said. I want Oakville. He sat back down. I apologize if it seems like I was making assumptions. It's just my usual clients. Chester, if you made assumptions, they were right. I still want Oakville. A sudden thud. Chester shot up. The window quaked in its pain. A small ball bounced after the girls, now rushing indoors. One grabbed the rope on her way, which was not a noose, but a neat roll. Chester chuckled. Thank you.